Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. In today's video, I'm going to be recapping my fragrance rotation from the previous week, beginning right on April 1st, leading into the 7th here. So starting off with Monday, changing gears a little bit from March, where I usually like to reach for green fragrances and fougères. April is kind of when I like to grab for fragrances that evoke a little bit of more of a silvery color tone, I would say. These sort of clouds here on my desktop background wallpaper articulate very well what the weather around me is like here in April. A little bit of that silvery, almost purple tone in the clouds here, at least when there's some cloud cover for the April showers vibe. So I still like to wear barbershop fragrances, maybe not the ones that capture that outdoorsy fern style scent profile, but still nonetheless that clean, almost office safe fragrances is a theme that I would say is what I like to grab for in April. So Monday I went with Chanel's Platinum Egoiste, a little bit of a classic at this point, definitely captures that silvery tone, I would say. Really exceptionally beautiful lavender and geranium in here, gives it a nice cool cold quality on top of that shaving foam vibe. Rosemary, I want to say, is in here that gives it a little bit of a sharpness also. Definitely something that I feel the more that I've worn it, the more I recognize you can go overboard on the trigger. It's pretty powerful. I go a little bit nose blind if I spray more than 2 or 3 sprays with this one. Very good projection, a little bit old school, but something easy to wear if you can carry it in a mature manner, and absolutely elegant the way that Chanel usually does fragrances. Highly recommend this one. It might not be for everyone because it does have a little bit of a metallic tone, and that's not everyone's cup of tea, that accord, but this is one of my favorites from the designer realm, point blank period. So Chanel's Platinum Egoiste for Monday. Moving into Tuesday here, we had a little bit of a cold snap Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It actually was snowing, or at least sleeting, those 3 days. So over the course of those 3 days, I was really reaching for some fragrances that are a little bit more dense. Tuesday, it started off that way and ended up getting up into the mid-50s, so luckily I grabbed something that wasn't all that winter-esque, but still a little bit heavy, really teeters that transitional period, and it is Reflection 45. Now Reflection, the original, is one that is my top go-tos for the month of April. I think that it has that really nice airy quality about it. It captures a little bit of that silvery tone, is easy to wear, nice and office friendly, I would say. This one did a good job of carrying me through that little bit more of a cold snap. This one's a little bit more dense, sits closer to the skin, has an increase of spiciness, and I think leans a little bit more masculine than the original Reflection. This was one that I don't quite think I am going to be recommending in any top 10 lists, but just because I think it's a little bit overpriced. Nonetheless, was really great wearing it. I do catch wafts of this all day whenever I've got it on. It's very nice, thick, and dense, offering that subtle sweetness and absolute elegance and class, but not quite as attention-grabbing, I want to say, as some of the other Amouages, just because of how close it sits to the skin, but accented me perfectly for the cold at the beginning of the day, moving into the little bit warmer spring-type atmosphere, still with this sort of cloudy cover going on for Tuesday through Thursday for me, though. So that was Reflection 45 for my second day that week. Third day, we had the coldest of the days last week. It was in the low 30s, and we were getting that sleety type snow. And while I do like to reach for things with a little bit of a soapy cleanness here in the month of April, I needed something a little bit more dense to carry me through this cold snap, and so I reached for this one, which is one of my top picks for the winter time. This is Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense. So this one carries that original's DNA, but does a little bit of an inversion, where I think the original has more of an focus on the saffron and soap, whereas this one goes a little bit more heavy into the amber and the myrrh. So it's got a lot more of a resinous quality here, but it keeps to that soapy, clean freshness, which is very unique because not many fragrances can get that resin depth and sweetness alongside of a clean, fresh quality. So this one is one of my favorites. Really sad to see it's been discontinued, but you can still find it popping up at the discounters. I think FragranceBuy.ca has it in right now for just under $100. Really highly recommend picking this one up before it's gone, because it's just such an elegant masterpiece especially for the winter time. I really do not want to be without this during the cold weather, and was a welcome companion for me that day on Wednesday. Thursday, again, a little bit colder, but wanted to reach for something in the spring spirit. This is one that I think is a little bit more well suited for the autumn, but is one of my top picks for transitional weather like this. And it's got a really nice, heavy, beautiful floral component with some spices as well, so it does a good job of carrying itself through the cold because of the density of the spice, and the floral aspect makes it great for spring. This is none other than Moschino's Toy Boy. Spoken about this one quite a bit on the channel. Kind of reminds me of the scent profile that you get out of maybe a bag of bird seed mixed in with some dry roses and a little bit of a latexy texture feel. Not for everybody, I would say, but definitely something that I think is worth getting your nose on. One of my favorite designers out right now in the game, I think, especially just because it does a good job of carrying me through multiple aspects of the year as a transitional fragrance, and it is surprisingly one that I get a lot of compliments on. So that is Moschino's Toy Boy for Thursday. Friday is the day where I like to wear niche fragrances, and this has been one of my favorite reaches for the springtime so far. Still kind of getting my bearings on it, whether or not I think it's going to be better suited for the autumn or the spring. Same thing with Toy Boy. It's got a really good dryness to it, a dry woody quality that I think might be better suited for the autumn, but a beautiful, nice, clean, effervescent, almost sparkly iris in here that is the characteristic trademark of the fragrance, I would say, and a little bit of, again, a latexy textural feel. So dry woods, a bit of a latex soapy vibe, and a beautiful floral iris. This is Iris Nazarena from Aedes de Venustas, a brand that I highly recommend getting your nose on, but sample first. I think the entire line is a little bit more well suited for fragrance enthusiasts. They're very niche in the sense that they're artistic creations, so you're going to be getting some awesome offerings, but they may not be the most mass appealing or the easiest to wrap your nose around. I want to say very complex, the entire line. Do not blind buy it. This is one that I personally blind buy a lot, but this is one that I did sample, and I think, again, the whole house is worth sampling first because of the uniqueness of their creations. But this is one of my favorite wearing experiences so far this spring out of my entire collection. Iris Nazarena from Aedes de Venustas for Friday. Saturday, we had my daughter's birthday party, had some family over. It was surprisingly a heat wave compared to the past 3 days that we had some snow coming in. We got up into the mid-70s on Saturday, so I actually reached for something that I bought during the winter time because I got a good deal on it. Bought it for $235, which is pretty good for this fragrance in particular. Hadn't been able to wear it because the weather was not quite harmonizing with the scent profile, being a very beautiful citrus, spicy style fragrance. I think there's some ginger in here, some cumin in the dry down that gets a little bit BO-esque. I was smelling my shirt after a while. Thought that the performance was kind of poor, but I did smell it on my clothes a very long time after the fact, so I was probably going a little bit nose blind, but the opening is to die for. I think one of the best citruses, if not the best citrus in my entire collection here in the opening, and was a great time wearing it here in that little bit of a heat wave. This is Roja Burlington 1819. Absolute class in a bottle in terms of a summer style fragrance. Like I said, it has a little bit of a boozy touch to it as well that really kind of makes it very modern and fun in conjunction with the very classy elements that come together in here in the warmer days of spring. So that's Roja Burlington 1819. Definitely one of the classiest fragrances that I've worn to date in 2024. And finally, for Sunday, we had rains come again, and it was pretty warm on Sunday. I want to say probably about low 60s, and the rains were pretty dense. The clouds were very full of water, and so much so that the sky turned a little bit of a green color. It happens when the clouds really fill up and absorb a lot of rain. That way it bends the way that the light refracts, and it gives it a little bit of a green hue to the sky. And I just kind of spent the time sitting around the house with the kids, relaxing, and this was a really great casual fougere fragrance for that event. And there's a basil note in here that I think gave it a little bit of a nice green harmony with the way that the weather was occurring outside. This is Lalique L'Insoumis. Again, a fougere with a really nice sour basil note and a unique modern touch with a rum accent as well. Really awesome casual fragrance for me, at least. I think you can dress this up, but it was just a welcome companion for hanging out around the house in that kind of silvery green atmosphere. A little bit low energy, I want to say, even though this one has a lively funness quality to it because of the boozy accent in here. It was nonetheless just something that I was really looking forward to wearing all springtime. Sadly, I think this has been drying up at the discounters. It's not discontinued because you can still buy it directly from Lalique's website, but you can only find these in the 50 ml bottles at discounters right now. I think that this has happened before and they end up restocking eventually, but hard to come by at the moment. Hoping that it gets back again, because I would like to be recommending it in some top 10 lists for cheapies, because you can usually find the 100 mLs for under $40, as well as spring overall, and one of my favorite wares for the month of April so far. So that's Lalique L'Insoumis for Sunday. And that was my weekly rotation in fragrance. Let me know what your fragrance rotation was in the comment section down below. Let me know if you've tried any of these or any of these sound interesting to you. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.